Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 50 of the Cosmic Force. And on tonight's episode, we are talking about our favorite battles in Star Wars comics. We're talking starfighters, we're talking Jedi, we're talking lightsabers, we're talking Sith, we're talking bounty hunters, we're talking Hutts. Yes, battles involving Hutts. That's the sort of conversation we're going to have tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and say hi to everybody tonight. And we start where we always do. Emma, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well. Hey, everybody. Really excited to talk some battles today. Had some awesome High Republic news. Wasn't anything comics related, but we got a new cover revealed for Path of Deceit, the upcoming, was that YA novel? And yeah, really excited for that. Also, they said that there's going to be more news at Celebration, so I can't wait to hear what that's all about. So a little bit of High Republic news to keep the day going. Always a good feeling. So I'm ready.
we are probably in that gray area of no news because it's all going to be held for Celebration.
Yes, that's so
So
true. Yeah.
so
Very true.
don't get disappointed if you don't hear any news, because it's probably all going to be saved for Celebration.
Exactly. We're gonna get a giant news dump, and then all three of our live shows are just gonna be like straight up news shows when we all get back. Like, so it's good and bad.
All right, and we toss it over to Caleb next. Caleb, I see you've brought the tie back. That this is in direct correlation to our conversation last week, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
I've been
like
slacking maybe not slacking a little bit, but I'm getting it's temperatures kind of leveling out here a little bit. I realize I've been wearing a little too many button ups. I decided to do a button down. That's with the little collar buttons here. So decided to pull out a tie, and I'll probably maybe next week I'll do a tie as well. We'll figure it out what the temperature here in Georgia is. Either way, we're about to have some pretty big conflicts here in the show. Not between us, well, maybe between us as to what.
Maybe between us.
Maybe we'll figure out what actually a battle means. When we were doing this show, like last week, we were talking about it, and like very specifically, I think Tyler, you were like, "Oh, by the way, we don't have to talk about this. Let's just pick our favorite battles and go from there." And there's very little oversight, which will make a lot of fun, I think.
Yes, it is going to be. Apparently, we had different interpretations of the assignment, and we will get to that when we get there. Our last host tonight, Jacob, did I see you shadowboxing there for just a second?
I did. Caleb was talking about getting in a fight, so I started punching him from the previous screen that no one can see but the four of us. But it's fine. Happy big 5-0 to everyone. I know we celebrated our 1-year anniversary, a week ago, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, a week ago.
And time flying by. But hey, we got 50 under our belt now, which I think means, I believe officially, Chris Sprouse has to do a anniversary cover for us. I think that's how that works. He's made so many that, like they just keep coming. And like I was like, oh, there's no more Lucasfilm things to do, like chronologically, and then it's like, oh no, yeah, I forgot about Book of Boba Fett. So I think next is the Cosmic Force cover. So just hold your breath, make sure you get those pre-orders in when they come out. But yeah,
Emma, add that to our list of things to do when we're in Celebration. Okay. We need to address a comic artist about getting a Cosmic Force cover. So
it's on my list already.
I think that's item 3,793 in the list, right?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Well, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are a Star Wars comics podcast that broadcasts live right here on youtube.com/Utini every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. But if you can't join us live, that is just fine, because we are also available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. We are also a part of the Utini podcast network of shows and a Discord channel at utini.com/Discord with more than 1,000 members and dozens of channels to choose from. If you like what you see and want to say thanks, then head on over to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Utini, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire Utini podcast network of shows, as well as exclusive merch and community involvement activities. And Emma, I'm going to toss it over to you so you can shout out our new patrons this week.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to say a big thank you to Adrian, who changed their tier to annual. So big thank you. And we also have a brand new patron, Liz Hendrick, who is now a monthly patron. So thank you both so much. It is because of your support and all of our patrons' support that we're able to do really cool things like Celebration coming up. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up there, and we can't wait to share it with you.
All right. Uh, as we said in the intro, there was some new High Republic news that came out today, but nothing comic specific. So we will let the guys over on the Living Force take care of that. So we are going to go ahead and get right into our weekly pull list. So Jacob, we finally have a week where we don't have just bounty hunters out this week.
Yeah, it's a big change for us. After 2 weeks of just one issue of Bounty Hunters apiece, we have a little variety here, a little bit more to digest. We have Star Wars number 22, The Last Division, written by Charles Soule, with pencils by Ramon Rosanas. The cover is by Carlo Pagulayan. The colorist is Rochelle Rosenberg, and the letterer is Clayton Cowles. We also have Darth Vader number 22, Crimson Havoc, written by Greg Pak, with pencils by Raphael Yanko. The cover is by Paul Renault. The colorist is Alex Sinclair, and the letterer is Joe Caramanga. And lastly, we have a trade paperback. It feels like we haven't had one of those in quite a while now. But we have Trail of Shadows Volume 1, written by Daniel Jose Older, pencils by David Wachter. The cover is by David Lopez. The colorist is Giada Marchisio, and the letterer is Joe Sabino. So that collects the entire mini series. If you're looking to pick that up, if you're a big High Republic fan, I would highly recommend it. But as
The cover is so cool.
it is a very cool cover. There's a lot of cool covers in this series, even though the quantity of variants was pretty low. I think it's issue 5. I don't know if it's David Lopez or David Lopez. He did another cover for issue 5 with Cyan holding the lightsaber, and it's probably one of my favorite covers of like all the High Republic. It's pretty
Agreed.
sick.
Yeah, it was sick.
If you want to pick those up, you can check out the links in the YouTube description if you're watching us live, and grab any of those on Comixology.
Yeah, I definitely recommend, as Jacob said, we definitely recommend you picking up the Trail of Shadows. Probably one of the most influential comics that we have out right now for the High Republic. Really has a lot of fun, interesting world building, events in it. So do not miss that if you were waiting on the trade paperback to come out.
Absolutely. There's a lot of teeth on that one. And I think the biggest thing I'm excited about is now it's out here in trade paperback. We can do a roundtable soonish.
Yes,
So,
it's coming soon. Yeah,
soonish.
can't wait to share that with you guys. Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into what we're loving this week. As far as we don't have any art this week, but as far as what we're reading, I don't have my prop. For those of you who watched Legends Look Back, was that last week? Yeah, it was last week.
Yep.
I joined the Legends Look Back team, and we have a nice friendly little competition for whoever can read the most Legends books by the end of the calendar year. Myself, Freddie, and Jared are all getting very close to finishing our entire adult novels for Legends. I forgot my book somewhere, but I'm about a third of the way through Mercy Kill, which is one of the later novels that was released for Legends. So having lots of fun with that. It's nice to go back to a Legends book because it's written completely different. And those of you who watch Legends Look Back will understand what I mean by that. But it's been a lot of fun. So Jared, Freddie, I hope you are taking this as seriously as I am, because I am already a third of the way through a book. Because I don't want to read a Star Trek book. Because that's not anything that I want to do.
Loser
I was
has
about
to
to say
do?
that. What does the
That's
loser
what-
have to do?
That's what the loser has to do. The loser, the person who reads the least, cannot pick up another Star Wars book until they read a Star Trek book
Oh
of
my.
Rick's choosing.
Ooh.
But I was just about to ask if Rick lost, but then he's not in the competition. Okay,
Rick,
I got it.
So Rick is in a win-win situation because
Yeah,
because
right.
he's the moderator. So if he wins, then he just gets to laugh in all of our faces. If he loses, well, he was just a judge anyway, so it really wasn't. He wasn't really as an equal part of the competition as myself, Freddie, and Jared were. So he's in a win-win situation. Somebody's reading a Star Trek book, and it's not going to be me.
Wow.
I
Didn't
love the
realize.
spirit.
So
It is
It's
very
boldly
bold.
going somewhere.
it's boldly going somewhere, but it's not coming to my room.
Did you guys
all right.
agree on something for the winner? Did you figure?
So I believe the thing that we were talking about, we were all going to contribute, I think up to $20. And since all of us are going to be at Celebration, we were going to walk the show floor and go find a piece of Legendsy sort of toys or memorabilia or something that we were all going to contribute to, and the winner gets whatever that is. So
Oh, I love that.
stay tuned for that. I'm sure we will figure out a way to document that while we're there. And yeah, it's going to be a fun competition for the rest of the year. Emma, I think you've also got something that you're reading.
Yeah, I finished Queen's Hope. Really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure my signed copy actually was delivered to my house this week, so I'm excited to go home to snag that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. If you haven't read Queen's Hope yet and want to catch up on Queen's Shadow and Queen's Peril, I have a recap video up on YouTube, and there's also an article on the site if you want to look into that. It definitely ties into the other two books, I think, more than the other two books tied into each other in a way, which is really interesting. And I love the way, I won't say anything more than this, but I love the way that E.K. Johnston writes Anakin. And that's not a spoiler because that was in an excerpt. But yeah, she does a great job with it. And I don't know, these characters are starting to feel so familiar. Not only because of these books, but I mean, we see Sabe so much in the comics now with Darth Vader, and yeah, I loved it, and hopefully everybody either had the chance to read it or is going to get the chance to do so soon, because it was a fun read. Didn't feel too slow. Didn't feel like it needed to be any longer or shorter. It felt great to me, so definitely recommend it.
Yeah, those I read the first two books. Those were very easy, very quick reads. I don't want to say easy reads. Those are very quick reads. And actually, that was Queen's Peril was the first book that I gave to my nieces for their Star Wars books.
Oh, I love that.
Because I somehow ordered two and I didn't remember it. So rather than have two books sitting around here collecting dust, I decided to give one to my nieces. So
That's a great place to start too.
I haven't had a chance to check out with them how far they've gotten into it, but they were very excited to get it.
And the nice part about that book is, like, once they read that, they're going to have to watch The Phantom Menace.
Exactly.
That's movie night at Uncle Tyler's house. I mean,
There you go.
I love
all
that.
right, Caleb, Jacob, you guys reading anything? Jacob, you reading anything that's not for law school?
Does reading mission prompts in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga count as reading?
I will
Yes.
allow it. Yes.
Okay, then absolutely. I've been reading a ton of that. And by reading, I mean kind of clicking through it, because the written dialogue is not what I'm here for that game.
Have you turned on mumble mode yet?
No, I wanted to play through the whole, like, all the missions for, because okay, like
Same.
I was going before, like, when I pre-ordered the game, I was a mumble mode purist. I only played the first two Lego Star Wars games, which were only mumbles. Like, I never got to any of the later games, like the Complete Saga or the Clone Wars one where they had voice acting. So I'm like, oh, I'll do mumble mode. And then I I think it was like the thing that changed my mind was, like, they're like, yeah, someone's like, Leia switches from a British accent to an American accent, like, halfway through A New Hope, like she does in the movie. I'm like, okay, like, that, like, level of care, like, I would feel
Yeah.
bad if I just missed all of the dialogue. So I played
Shelby
through.
Young does a brilliant Leia.
Yes, she is. I don't follow her, but, like, her tweets have been popping up on my feed, and she seems like she's having a blast with this game. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm pretty
great.
sure that she voiced Leia in Forces of Destiny too, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly. She does a great job, and she's definitely, like, super stoked about it, which is
Yeah.
always my favorite thing with Star Wars actors or voice actors, is like Ming-Na Wen, like when they just
Oh,
get
yeah.
like so
It's like,
insanely
I bought
excited
all of
about
the
it, like
action
us.
figures of my character.
yes.
Yeah.
I love that type of stuff, so I
So-
love seeing that.
I know Jacob. How many episodes have you finished so far?
As of about half an hour ago, all of them.
All of them? Okay.
Wow.
All right. Emma, what about you? I know you're also playing.
Yes, I am playing. Unfortunately, I hit a lull the last, like, 4 days here and hardly played at all because school got crazy. But I'm through, like, I'm almost done with 5, and I started at 1. So
Okay. Same here. I started with episode 1, and I just finished episode Return of the Jedi earlier today. So I'm
nice.
not that far ahead of that, much farther ahead of you.
yeah,
It's been fun. Caleb, have
Has
you
been
had a
fun.
chance to pick this up yet? I know you game a little bit in your spare time, but I don't know.
Definitely. But I have not picked this one up. I think I want to wait just a little bit, see if I can wait till I pick it up on a little bit of a sale. I don't know yet.
Sure.
I only buy video games on sale, and I just picked up another game that I have to play through. Lost Judgment for the PS5. That's like a 40-hour game that I have to that I want to go through. 50-hour game. Other than that, since I'm kind of doing the hipster thing here, I'll continue that trend. I'm not reading any Star Wars, but I am reading the 1967-68 novel The Lord of Light by Robert Zelazny. It's some high-level sci-fi here, and it's really, really good. I've like never heard about it until I saw like a list of like 100 greatest sci-fi novels. It's like slapped at like number 30, number 20 on that list. And I've just picked it up like, oh, this is really good. So if you're ever in the mood for some like really mind-bendy, like almost fantasy sci-fi, The Lord of Light by Robert Zelazny, I'm about 2/3 the way through, and I would encourage it.
So you're
This
not
is
you're
your
so
this
like
is your
this-
second major classic science fiction book, right?
Yeah, like I go in rotations. Like I'll do a Star Wars book, then I'll like step back, do some podcasts, and I'll do like a non-Star Wars book, step back, do some podcasts. I like to vary my my feed up. Like I do not want to burn myself out on Star Wars and read nothing but Star Wars novels. It's a mad dash to catch up. So I'm taking my time. I'm enjoying the classics. You gotta like it's just like you can't eat potatoes all day long.
well,
Fun fact for
okay,
you
slow down
dietitians,
there.
you can
Yeah.
eat potatoes every day. You can actually live off that. The
No.
Bible
Only if
did
they have
not lie to
chives
you.
on them. Am I
Only
right?
if they have chives. Wait 45 seconds, and that joke will make a lot more sense.
Only if you're on video. Though.
Yeah, if you're an audio
If you're- if
podcast,
you're-
you have
if you're on
no idea what we're
audio-
talking about.
Yeah.
Unless you're a hardcore Legends Look Back fan.
Well, if you're a hardcore Legends Look Back fan, you're probably also here just because we love the Living Force, but I think between us and Legends Look Back, we referenced each other the most here. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
I mean,
We're
I
both
would agree
pretty
with that.
niche.
They
Yeah.
stole the hot dog Boba Fett, and we kept Naked Palps alive for like a few months while they were
Yes.
trying to
true.
kill the meme.
We traded
And-
memes for a little bit. Like they convinced me, honestly. Like I was the one that said hot dog Boba Fett in the first place, but I honest to God thought that it
Don't
was a
remember.
Legends Look Back thing for the longest time because they said it so much.
And technically, we do the Snowcat is technically a living
Living
force
Force.
meme, so we technically do
right.
reference them every once in a while too.
Well, that's because we weren't around when they first came up with it.
True.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. And then when we come back, we are going to be talking about our favorite battles in Star Wars comics. So we will be right back.
It's the best back cover since Star Wars Episode 1 hardcover novelization. The one with young Anakin, because on the back, just to remind y'all, is a full headshot of Watto.
so big.
I think I brought this up on one of the earliest episodes of the Living
my
Force
God, yeah.
ever, and I thought I'd bring it back.
Oh my God, yeah.
Series and all of Legends. What do you guys think? Could it be the X-Wing series? Might just be the
It
most
was pretty
romance
steamy.
intensive series ever. And we're not just talking about the scene where Corran Horn describes his love affair with an otter. I mean, a Salonian that he hooked up with her and then he broke out in chives.
Yeah, not chives.
In
Not
chives.
chives.
What's it called? The bumps?
Hives, dude. Hives.
Chives
so
go under
sorry.
potato.
I'm hearing you
Chives,
say the same thing.
chives what
is-
you put on the under potato. No C. Hives. Hives.
Hives.
Not
What'd I
chives.
say?
Chives.
It's not a very common story to approach. Yeah, again, drawing the complex family tree of Django to clone identical son to clone all identical millions of sons, but they're a generation older. So then the son is kind of all Django's equal, but then Boba is a generation younger, but then that clone's son is Boba's age, but then is Boba his dad or his nephew or his uncle or his cousin? It's like
All right, we are back, and tonight we are talking about our favorite battles. And as Caleb had mentioned earlier in the show, that was pretty much all we said we were going to do. Go find your favorite battles in all of the Star Wars comics and write them down. So, with that little instruction, there was apparently some differences of opinions as to what exactly the assignment was. Jacob, you said you had you thought that this assignment was going to be a little bit different than it was, right?
Yeah. So my thought was, I'm like, oh, battles, like, military battles. It's Star Wars, so we're talking about war here. That is not what everyone thought. I think I'm basically Caleb was a little bit of a mixed bag, but I did like straight like military conflicts throughout comic books. And that's not what everyone else did. So it's gonna be a nice little varied set here of what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
hey, I think that makes for a little bit more of an interesting show, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. So I also, for some reason, I thought that this topic was our favorite space battles, as in like starfighters, and like, so that's where I went first. My first choice actually starts there, and then when I came this afternoon and started throwing in my notes, I was like, wait a minute, some of these don't involve space battles. So I went back and reviewed the assignment. No, I don't know where I threw in the word space. So yeah, so this is gonna be all over the board. I'm doing it one way, Jacob's doing it another way. This is going to be a very all across the board sort of show tonight.
The question was definitely up for interpretation, and I'm glad that we all didn't have the same interpretation, because that might have been a little boring.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so right now we have all. Jacob, I'm actually going to ask you this question because if you have any art queued up,
There's no art, so we can round robin if we want.
Okay, good. So then let's all go around and pick one. I think we all picked 3, right?
I have 2.
You have 2. I have 3.
I have 3.
Okay.
So start with Caleb and Tyler.
There.
maybe?
Okay.
I don't know if that works, but
Then
Right.
I will go ahead and get started first then, because I think this is probably the most memorable line and imagery in modern Star Wars comics. And of course, that I am talking Darth Vader versus the Rebellion from Vader
That's a good
Down,
one.
number 1 and number issue 1 and issue 2. And this was why when I started, like I said, when I started doing my research, I thought that we were doing space battles. I was like, oh, that's right. I remember this one. This has tons of space battles. There's actually 16 pages of nothing but starfighter battles. The images are great. There's ships blowing up. There's dogfighting left and right. And then it continues to 6 pages in issue 1. And then the fight carries over to issue 2, where there's 5 more pages of this battle. So you're talking 16. I was told there'd be no math. 27 pages of battles for just this one book. So yes, obviously when it comes to the imagery and lines, I'm obviously talking about the beginning. No, it's the end. I think it's the last line of issue 1, where the rebellion is telling Vader to surrender. You are surrounded. And he, of course, says, I am surrounded by fear and dead men. And then the issue ends, and then it comes back and he kills everybody. So, and also wanted to say this entire, if you haven't read Vader Down, this was one of the first crossover events with Afra, with mainline Star Wars, and with Vader. And they do this, they do the crossover thing very well. All the characters are included in this. And it makes sense when they pop up. So very fun book. Vader Down is an excellent miniseries. And this battle is, like I said, got to be one of the most memorable battles in modern comics.
that is such a good pick that I'm mad at myself for not also picking it.
Yeah,
It's
I can't.
iconic.
I mean, I didn't do my notes until around lunchtime today, and I was very surprised that this was still available. So I quickly wrote it down. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Damn, that's
Caleb.
a good one. All right. I have 3 picks here, and I kind of have them in descending order. I start kind of big, then I get smaller and then smaller. So should I go ahead and start with the largest scale battle, or start small and work my way up?
I say go big or go home.
All right, then let's
I do too.
start from the top on a series that is good, but I feel underrepresented in our show. Not that we're doing anything wrong. It's just it has run its course. That is from the Poe Dameron series. Specifically takes place in issues 2 and 3. It's the Black Squadron's first dogfight against the Imperial Remnant. It's just a really exciting dogfight between, I think it's just 3 X-Wings and an A-Wing versus an entire First Order upgraded TIE fighters. It's nice to see a dogfight that's not in space, but it's actually in atmosphere, as the as they're trying to do like the whole Cold War sort of thing of we want the other team to shoot first at us, or draw first blood, so therefore it's justified. Just a really great artwork from Phil Noto with just some really dynamic action shots. Really, there's a really fantastic splash page which is like spider webbed out with target signs, and like every little bit is a new little snippet of action. Just some fantastic artwork through that whole one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I need to reread. I'm glad you brought this up because I definitely need to reread Poe Dameron. It's a very good, solid series.
Yes.
It's like some of the, it's the most extensive treatment of the sequels we've gotten in comics form. With it's like 29 issues plus an annual, I think.
Which is a crying shame, by the way.
Yeah, a right that needs to be wronged, and hopefully will in the next couple of years. It's fantastic. Like you said, it's cool. Like, mix of like Cold War and like Top Gun dogfight kind of action, and the panel lines you said, like some of the most unique paneling in any like canon comic book by far. I know the exact page you're talking about where it's I think it's like a center kind of like reticle, and then it spirals out with like you seeing like everyone's different perspective and everything. So yeah, great pick.
Go ahead. We have a little side note for future show notes. I went ahead and put Poe Dameron Volume 1 roundtable.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea.
Absolutely. So that was my when we first were talking battles, I'm like, ooh, if I want to do a space battle, that's the one I want, even though, as I said, it's an Atmo battle. But I think we'll forgive my semantic-ness here. Who's next? Emma, Jacob?
I can go next. So this one was what immediately came to mind when I wrote this down on the schedule. I was like, I need to talk about this battle. So it's Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor. It's kind of like a 2-part battle versus Jocasta Nu in Darth Vader 2017. This happens in number 9 for the Grand Inquisitor, I think, and number 10 for Darth Vader. Might have gotten that mixed up, but generally I think that's what happened. It's been a while since I've read it, but it definitely stuck in my memory. That was by Charles Soule with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. It was so badass. Like, I never would have thought that the little librarian from Attack the Clones, who was such a jerk, honestly, to Obi-Wan, would have never thought that she was such a badass. I never really thought that she had a lightsaber either, or even knew how to fight like that. So it was fun to see her actually fight. And honestly, like, she held her own between the Grand Inquisitor and Darth Vader. Like, yeah, she's such a badass. And that fight sticks out as one of the wilder ones in canon to me, because I don't think when like canon started up, I don't think anybody thought that we were going to be getting like a Jocasta Nu story. Like, it's just so random, but it's so good at the same time. So that's definitely one that comes to mind as one of my favorites for sure.
I wish I was reading weekly when that battle happened, because
like you said,
to see that, to flip the page and see that battle would have been awesome.
It was funny for me because I hopped in like the first, I think, probably 2018. I read a few of like the early trade paperbacks of the canon series, and of Darth Vader, Star Wars, and then when Rise of Kylo Ren came out, I'm like, oh, that sounds so sick. I got to read that. And I was reading it, and we get to the scene where there's like the lightsaber rifle in the background, and so like I saw like a post online like, oh yeah, like Jocasta Nu used one. I'm like, excuse me, who? What? Is there another Jocasta Nu I'm not aware of?
Yeah, there's just so many memorable things that come out of just that. Minor character, major moment right there. Like, everything about Jocasta Nu in comics is a major moment after another major moment. It's awesome. All right, Jacob,
That's me
let's
next, yeah.
let's go over your first one.
Yeah, so like I said, I thought they meant military battles, and so mine's very different. And okay, if Jared is off work yet, here you go. Here's your Legends moment of the week. It's I'm referencing the Stark Hyperspace War. Has anyone here heard of that before?
I think I skimmed a Wikipedia article like 12 years
Okay.
ago.
Okay, Tyler.
No,
No? Okay.
I thought you were mentioning Tony Stark, and I was like,
No,
what are we
not
talking
that
about
Stark. So it's a kind of very interesting. I read it because like I mentioned on the show a few times now. I'm reading through like the Old Republic series. It's issues 36 through 39, which is technically before it became Republic, but whatever, you know what it is. And when I read it, it was very interesting because one, it's a military conflict, like a full-on military conflict in like the pre-Phantom Menace era, and two, there's a lot of striking similarities to the High Republic in this conflict, which I thought was very interesting. So the basic premise of it is the Republic is engaging in trade disputes. Hold on. I don't want to lose you yet. Between the Trade Federation and the Stark Combine, which is basically like an organized like syndicate of pirates led by this dude. Led by this dude named Stark.
Tony Stark.
Not that Stark. Basically, so like the Jedi are overseeing the summit. They all come together to have the pirates engage in talks with the Trade Federation. And meanwhile, this is pre-Phantom Menace, so there's no standing Republic military. There's a Tarkin, I think, that like is a hotshot and a senator, and he secretly forms his own galactic Republic military, and wants to show it off, while Valorum, who's still a senator, is against it and anti-war. He tries to crash the party with his makeshift army, but Stark has like hyperspace computer viruses that he uploads to all of their hyperspace computers, basically interdicts the entire fleet, sending most of them to like death, and then a bunch of others to this planet that they're gathered on. So then the pirates jump in and just start destroying everyone. Like they all get wrecked, and then they get forced down to planet. They also can't communicate with anyone, and it becomes like a war of attrition where they're getting bombed in caves for a while, and they can't communicate with the Senate. It's wild. Plo Koon's there. He's like a big hero, of course, because who doesn't love Plo Koon? It's just very like having hyperspace disasters leading into an all-out brawl with space pirates / like raiders is very High Republic in my opinion. Obviously, this one came first by about 20 years, but it was a pretty cool little arc, and I definitely enjoyed it.
It's very cool and very, very Legends-y.
Yes.
I was gonna say, Caleb, let's make sure we add this to the list of roundtable discussions, because that's sounded awesome.
I need to talk more about this.
I think because I'm trying to think. I think you can probably read it without just as taking a volume out and just reading it by itself, because it's it has Quinn, because it's like a flashback. That's how the story's presented, and it shows Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan meeting as Padawans and becoming friends, but it doesn't super rely on the past story of Quinlan Vos in the comics that came before. So I think you could probably just pick this up and read it by yourself. But yeah, no, it was a cool military battle, and yeah, again, I'm getting similar thoughts of like Marchion Ro and his grand plans as well. So
yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm adding that to my list of old comics that I still need to get caught up on, because that sounded interesting. So all right, is it back around to me now?
Yep.
All right, my second choice comes from Darth Maul, son of Dathomir, #4. And this is the kind of climax of the entire miniseries, and that puts Maul and Mother Talzin against Dooku and Grievous and the Emperor. It is a dark side versus dark side, no holds barred slugfest of a fight, and it is awesome. The coloring is fantastic. There's very dark lines, and there's shadows that are cast on everybody's faces, which looks outstanding. Dooku ends up getting possessed by Mother Talzin. It's a the whole arc is a matter of the Emperor trying to make Maul do something that he thinks is outsmarting Maul, but Maul knows that the Emperor is trying to outsmart him, so he's going to try to do something else. But Palpatine knows that Maul knows that that he knows, so it's a whole just mess of a comic. But it ends in this fight, and it is just everybody is there, and Maul's emotions are amazingly captured in this book. His not only is he's not just the angry Sith person that we see, so that we've seen so often in his early iterations. He really is genuinely concerned with Mother Talzin, and he loves Mother Talzin as his own mother. So seeing her go into this battle and have at some point in the battle that it kind of turns against her for a bit, and seeing his emotion is just so awesome. Darth Maul is one of my favorite characters, so this was a really fun book and fun battle for me to use here, because like I said, when you've got 5 of the most powerful Sith / dark side users in all of Star Wars, I mean, you're gonna get an epic battle.
I think that comic is so underrated. Like,
Absolutely.
no, we don't talk about it enough. It is so good. It's one of the first comics I read, actually. I remember it very clearly, and it's great. The fights are great, and it's so solid all around.
It falls in such a weird spot because there are endless debates online as if it's canon or legends or both. I think we definitely I think we definitely consider it canon at Utini. I don't know.
So.
I don't know if we consider it both.
Was this the one that was Dark Horse, that was printed by Dark Horse?
It is Dark
and then
Horse
again by Marvel. Okay,
it is Dark Horse, and the trade paperback has been reprinted by Marvel. It was, I think, 2015 was when it came out. So
yes, it was.
It definitely came out before the first issue of Star Wars, because I remember this when I made my personal database of comics. It might have been 2014, but it was right around that time, around the buyout, and it was based off a canceled Clone Wars script. It's complicated, but I'm gonna give a plug. One, of course, yes, I agree, Emma, underrated, fantastic comic, and the art style is definitively Dark Horse. So for those people that like Legends comics and want more of that, read this. If you don't have, this is the Myths and Fables book from Galaxy's Edge.
I was so mad I couldn't find that when I went to Galaxy's Edge, by the way, because it looks awesome.
It is so good. You can, if you're not at the parks, you can get on Shop Disney. So the original version of the book had 6 stories. Then there's a Target version that had 3 more, and then there was the Galaxy's Edge version, which had those plus another 3. And this one it's called The Unwilling Apprentice. It is the story of how Darth Sidious finds Darth Maul and brings him into becoming a Sith when he's a child. And it is one of the this short story in this special edition theme park book, and Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, I think is one of the best pairings in all of Star Wars. Just those two together, if you not part of a series. They're completely separate stories, but they go together so perfectly that it absolutely blew my mind when I read the comic. I read the comic second, even though it came out before the book. But yeah,
right.
It's an amazing pairing.
Okay, that's another show idea. Is unlikely Star Wars pairings.
Yes, and Justin in the chat does say that Clone Wars and the original ending of Clone Wars did lead to this being turned into a comic. It led to Dark Disciple being turned into a book. So there's a number of unused stories that were designed for that show that got turned into arcs in other mediums, and we are better for it because both of those. Dark Disciple is an excellent novel, and this. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's if you ever watched Clone Wars and were really confused as to what happened to Darth Maul between the end of season 5, where he gets captured by Sidious, and when he pops up in season 6 or 7, that's the story. That this explains how he's oh, you're if you're watching that show, you're probably oh, he's dead, and then suddenly he's back. This explains how that happens.
Suddenly.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Somehow,
Maul's returned.
Darth Maul has returned.
And he's done that at least like 3 or 4 times, so it's not that
That's
surprising.
true. It's very on brand for Maul.
Yeah.
And well, let's face it, it's on brand for a lot of Sith, I guess.
If you didn't see them die, they're not dead. And even if you did see them die,
Exactly.
they might not be dead.
It's like they're still probably not dead, even if you saw them fall down a
Yeah, did they
reactor shaft.
did they fall? They are alive.
Yep.
Unless you're Mace
That means
Windu.
Phasma's alive, which is awesome. So
Phasma is absolutely alive. It's just a matter of when we're going to see her
Yeah.
next.
We'll
No
see
one
her
can
show up
convince
with
me
Mace
otherwise.
Windu. The Phasma Windu show.
Oh, geez. All right. Caleb, what's your second choice?
Pick number 2. So we started with a up in the skies with a dogfight as TIE fighters versus X-wing sort of classic ordeal. Now we're getting a little bit more on the ground. I decided to go for a blaster fight, and this one, it's having blaster fights in like video games and things like that is very engaging. It can be a lot of fun in movies. Sometimes in comics it can be a little like, well, we have a panel shooting one gun and a panel shooting another gun, but this one was a lot more one-sided, and was Black Chrysanthemum versus the Imperial Garrison of Yavin from Afra number 3. There's nothing quite like seeing a Wookiee in his essentially natural arboreal habitat, making use some really heavy weapons, stalking, tracking, trapping. Just a lot of fun seeing Chrysanthemum just wreck an absolute path of destruction through ATSTs, scout troopers, and just as many poor stormtroopers as he can get in his line of fire.
Yeah, anytime we can talk about Black Chrysanthemum is a bonus on this show. So, yeah, it's awesome that you were able to that we have him in here. Was it the one that I actually thought that it was gonna? If we were gonna have a Black Chrysanthemum battle, this wasn't the one that I thought it was gonna be. But it is definitely a memorable scene.
agreed. And by the way, I was updating some things for Utini today about like upcoming releases, and I actually just noticed, and I don't even think I remember hearing about this, that there's a Black
Chrysanthemum
Chrysanthemum
one shot?
one-shot coming
Yep.
up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a recompilation of some of his popular stories. So it's nothing new. It's just they're taking snippets out of like
okay.
Dr. Aphra and Darth Vader and Star Wars and collecting them all
So,
together.
yeah, Star Wars.
Okay, because I was gonna say
mainline.
there's probably gonna be some solid battles coming out of that, but I guess
Yeah,
not any more solid than we've already had. Yeah.
I think that's out on May the 4th, if I remember correctly. Although
if I'm remembering correctly.
lots of things have
Did
changed.
it get delayed? Yeah, there's been a
well,
lot of delays.
I mean,
come out,
to be fair,
announced
everything's
recently.
pretty
I was
much
about to say,
delayed.
it's weird that the clip show is getting delayed, but But the reason I decided to go for this blaster fight was, Chrysanthemum has well known for his love of brawling and gladiatorial combat, but I just like the seeing him. I said, like, we often see like Wookiees on Kashyyyk and in elsewhere, but it's nice seeing him like stalking through the woods and remembering, oh yeah, these are essentially giant Bigfoots who like to crawl up on trees and are really good at being the apex predator in their local habitat. And this whole issue is essentially reinforcing that Chrysanthemum is the apex predator of Yavin at this moment.
All right. Frank just posted a bunch of the comic release date changes in Slack, which Frank, go to bed. It's like 2 a.m. But it is of course delayed. Potentially, this is not confirmed. He has to check these, but it's showing June 8th.
It's a long list.
June 8th. So push back about a month. So it's been, if you've been keeping an eye on things, it's been like, 2021 and early 2022 have been rough for delays. It seems like it's getting worse somehow, to be honest.
It does. Like, as I feel like I've been changing our little release schedule that we keep in our software.
yeah,
I feel like I've
like
been changing
weekly.
it weekly. Yeah.
I
legit.
think, like, okay, so I'll be quick about this because no one wants to hear this. Supply chain, people like throw that around a lot, and it is, without really knowing exactly what it means. But it's, it can take a very long time for a big hit to affect the market. So like if paper is being held up 6 months ago, it might take a long time to get through all the stages of production until you realize as a consumer that issue. So even though we're kind of on the other side, fingers crossed, of most of the worst things of the past couple of years, you might, things still suck as a consumer, and we are all the most gung ho of consumers as Star Wars fans. So
absolutely. So all that to say is, I don't care if you've already seen these Black Chrysanthemum stories elsewhere. Buy the new one shot whenever it does come out.
Yeah, at the very least, it'll be a cool cover.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's true. It's a very nice cover. I looked at it. It's cool.
Might be collectible one of these days. All right. Who was after me? I think we shipped it to
Is it me?
Emma. Yeah.
All right. This one I'm very excited about. So, I mean, I kind of had a little bit of a hard time. I mean, there's been so many awesome battles, right? So I kind of had a little hard time thinking of a good second one. But once I got it, I was like, yes, this is the one. So it is the Jedi and the Hutts versus the Drengir in the High Republic number 8. This is by Kevin Scott with art by Ario Anadito. And I mean, just talking about simply the art, first of all, it's just incredible. Like this huge spread. And like the colors even are amazing, which by the way, those are by Annalisa Leone. The colors throughout the series are fantastic. And then, okay, so we've got Jedi, evil plants, Rancors, Jedi riding Rancors, Hutts working with the Jedi, and I'm pretty sure there's a Hutt riding a Rancor, possibly. There's a lot of Rancor riding. It's crazy. The whole arc in general was insane, but in particular, the spread was also insane. So
yeah,
definitely sticks out in my mind, especially that Avar cover too. I don't remember if it was specifically issue 8, but it was great.
Yeah, or was it early? I don't know. Anyways, also you had the sick moment of half Drengir skier punching people with his veggie arm.
Oh yeah,
it's veggie arm.
That was good. Plus, we got to see was it Migra the Hutt be essentially
Mirga.
half Iron Man with Mirga with the power armor and just blasting people from her power skiff of doom.
Battle chariot, or it was
This
crazy.
This seems like in the brainstorming session, it's like, all right, hold on. Let me, what if we do Rancors? But hold on, not just Rancors, Hutts riding Rancors. And people are like, no, you can't make that happen. And it's like, I would love to be a fly on the wall for that brainstorming session.
It's like they threw out all their ideas and then they just said yes to all of them at the same time.
Yes.
When it was like, hey,
challenge accepted.
The Hutts have a huge criminal and actual empire. How did they do that? How did they actually start with that? Well, maybe we should show off we've had muscly Hutts and big buff Hutts, but now we need an actual fighting Hutts and shooting Hutts again. So I think that's gone a long way, and that's definitely a good pick here. So
we got some cool Hutts between Miarga and Gracchus and Boku, aka Jacked Hutt. Yeah, they're not all like Jabba, but most of them are. I think that brings me to me next, which I have another military battle. Look at that. That's what I thought this time it was, and I was wrong, but that's okay. This one is a canon one. I am sorry, Jared. It is the assault on Mako Ta. So this was right after, Emma has talked endlessly about Mutiny in Mon Cala and how much she loves that. This is part of the Hope Dies story arc, which directly follows it. Which Mutiny Mon Cala is the high note, and this immediately just pummels it into the ground and is sad and depressing. Basically, the rebels and Leia convince the Mon Cal Amari to give them ships. And they're like, okay, well, these are merchant ships, so we need to put guns on them. So we take them to the space dock. Leia has made an alliance with Queen Trios, but it turns out this is another backstabbing, hacking capital ship story, I guess, now that I think about it. Because Queen Trios, they go to these space docks to put guns on these ships. Queen Trios is still secretly working for Vader. They hack all of the ships to basically lock them down completely. The starfighter bays are locked. They can't get their ships out. The communications are cut out, so they can't talk to each other. They're basically just sitting ducks. Vader jumps in, starts like just mowing down everyone. It's bad. Is again the lowest of low after the highest of highs. But there are some cool moments. You get Luke drinking blue milk with his buddies in the ship cantina, and this is also the canonical birth of Rogue Squadron. Like they finally, after like all this time, they like managed to like reverse the hack somehow, or I can't remember. Oh, it was like they figured out that there's a safety mechanism that if you flew at the hangar bays from outside the ship, the hangar bays would force to be open, so someone would fly at it, so you could then fly out, something like that.
It wasn't when the nerd was tapping away at the computer and pushed up his glasses and said, "We're in."
Yeah, it's like Hacker Man's just like, all right. But
We're
no,
in.
so they were able to finally get their ships out, and they're like, and Luke and Wedge had talked about how they were inspired by the story of Jyn Erso, and they're like, in honor of the Rogue One, their shuttle that took them to Scarif were gonna be the Rogue Squadron. So that's how Rogue Squadron got started in canon, and then you get to see it continue into Empire Strikes from a certain point of view. A few stories in that, and then also hopefully we're gonna get that movie sometime soon. Fingers crossed for Celebration reveals. But yeah, that was my second battle.
Yes, sometime in the next few years, we'll have to get some sort of update on it. All right. I believe
that's
background to me. So this one, I think that I was staring at my trade paperbacks down here, and I was kind of like looking at the spines. I kind of thought, what pops out at me. So this isn't necessarily a most memorable one, but the Black Armor Boba Fett versus the Pit Warriors or Nar Shaddaa from the War of the Bounty Hunter Alpha. I loved Fett's black armor. I just pulled it up, but there's a video playing over it. The penciler and inker from that issue is Steve McNiven, and the colorist is Laura Martin. I loved how his armor was almost like a matte finish. It didn't reflect anything. It was just very, very dark. And then you have him going against, you have the spider-like character, the champion of Ryman Lictor, who he has to fight. And it's just, you don't normally see a lot of violence, a lot of direct violence in Star Wars. It's all assumed, it all happens off camera. Every lightsaber cut is cauterized immediately. But Fett mows down a handful of people in this, in this little, in this issue, leading to the fight with the Spider Lady. And I loved the art of this book, and I was thinking of this while Emma was talking. I really like how we're talking about the art, where we're featuring how the art looks in a lot of these selections, because that doesn't get enough credit. How art can really change how you see something. But yeah, it was just his black armor, and it's just, we've seen black armor before in Vader, but this was just a matte finish where you just didn't see anything, and I just thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, it like he was like covered in like blood and gore.
Yep.
It's like fast cutting between him with all these battles. And
he's dripping blood in one of the panels. I can't remember if it was the fight leading into,
I think it was, or
the
maybe
champion fight.
That, or it was like right after he finished, he's like going to collect his winnings, and he's just like
dripping.
Covered.
Yeah,
I think
it's so cool.
For me, one of the cool things about it was like the first time I read it, I'm like, this is KOTOR. I'm fighting. I'm fighting Gurlon Two Fingers here.
I was thinking the exact same name. I was going to.
I am the mysterious stranger. Yeah, it is Gurlon Two Fingers. Yeah, I'm fighting. I am the mysterious stranger. I am, or Jango Fett, or Black Armor Boba Fett. But the other cool part is we got the John Tyler Christopher actor. He's the one that does the action figure covers, right?
Oh yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, we got the Black Armor Boba Fett action figure, which is.
I love those covers, by the way. I think that they're like.
They're
done a lot, but
yeah, it's almost not feasible to collect them all. But it's like it's just like, and it's cool and like an enjoyable thing to just see them all. And I think they did do like a trade paperback of some of them a while back. The only one I have is my Kyiv one, because again, it's the closest thing we have to a High Republic action figure, unfortunately. So
I love that that's the reasoning behind
Yeah,
it.
it's like-
That's great.
all right,
All right, so
Caleb's up
those
next.
are my choices. Let's go to Caleb for his last one.
Oh, the last one, and the last one of this whole issue, this whole sort of thing. So again, recap: dogfight, blaster fight in ground level. Now we're going underground, and we're going to be talking about pretty much a two-person duel. This one was something we talked about not terribly long ago. It was Ben Solo versus Ty from the Rise of Kylo Ren issue 4.
Excellent
the,
choice.
the lightsaber duel there. And we often like to see very flashy and expressive lightsaber fights, and those are great. And we got a good deal of that here. But it was also a lot more emotional of a battle. Like, it was essentially a battle, to be very poetic here, about Ben Solo's soul. It's like, is he going to do the right thing and let his friend live and try to save him, or is he going to fall to the dark side and kill him? And essentially he falls to the dark side, and that was such a pivotal moment in his character that we got to see expressed through the violence and action of a one-on-one lightsaber duel. It was cool because you got to see like so many really good like there's a panel where you see Ben Solo specifically holding his lightsaber in front of his face in his like natural guard that he adopts throughout the rest of the movie. So some really good callbacks to that one. Kind of a fun, engaging fight as it goes through like the mining tunnels and ends in a giant crystal cavern. When I was thinking of what's a good lightsaber duel, that's the one that I thought of that comics represented really well in this series.
It's funny because I also think of that as a good lightsaber duel, but it's interesting because I don't really think that. What was her name?
Ty, his name.
Ty?
Ty.
Yeah.
Oh, his. Yeah. Okay. I keep thinking it's the
Yeah,
girl.
you're thinking
See,
of Vo.
Guy.
Yeah,
Okay,
Vo is the black woman, Ty's the bald white guy, and then Hennix is the Corrin.
Gotcha. Well, and actually, this kind of proves my point of what I was about to say. Is like it's funny because these characters are not memorable at all, but their lightsaber battles are so good. And that's
Ty is the
funny
one
because-
with the like emotional connection
Yes.
to Kylo.
But excuse you,
Yes.
my boy Hennix, I will not forgive that slight. He's literally like
Henix is the Quarren, right?
Yeah, he's like literally the only good Corrin ever in Star Wars. Ever.
It's true. I mean,
They're all evil.
oh no, I was thinking. Okay, I was gonna say not the one with the sweater, but that was Mon Calamari. So
Yeah,
maybe-
exactly.
All right.
So-
Well, yeah, when we do this again, we're definitely going to have to put more parameters on this, because we could do space battles, we could do lightsaber battles, we could do like there are so
we
many
could do
battles.
like 3 separate episodes. With one of
Really, we
each
really could,
category.
because there's so. I mean, and I think every one of ours except for Jacob's first came from canon.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, I got the one Legends pick. So again, my friends on Thursday evening, you're welcome.
So yeah, there's so many ways we can cut this topic up and redo it and not repeat anything between going back into the Legends canon, our Legends books. So this was fun. This was we didn't even touch on things like the High Republic Adventures or nothing from Afra and I think this is the first time that we've ever had a general sort of topic. I mean, I know that we talked about Chrysanthemum in the Afra book, but I think this is the first time that we've had a general topic where Afra wasn't part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that's because honestly, like Afra stories feel a little bit more character driven than action driven, and I think it's good that we have kind of that mix of, it's good to have balance and not have all of them be pew pew pew, and to have a more human side too. So.
Oh, you said the pew pew pew, and I just got to that part in Lego Star Wars, and it's just I'm
Nice.
just that's all I'm thinking about. So, all right. Well, that was a great topic for everybody. Emma, before we wrap up the show, why don't you tell us what is coming up on the calendar for the next few, for our sister shows?
Yeah, well, for us, first of all, next week we have an Ario Anandito artist spotlight. We love our artist spotlights. Can't wait to do this one, especially because I was just talking about how I love art in the High Republic. And then tomorrow on Legends Look Back, they are discussing the Han Solo trilogy Part 1. although I believe that is subject to change based on a few things. So that is kind of slightly TBD, maybe. We'll see. And then Monday on the Living Force is all about Star Wars Celebration preparation. So you know that Tyler and I will be tuning in there, and anybody else planning on going to Celebration should as well. And also just in general, I think it's cool. You know, I think it honestly applies. I mean, I can't actually say this. I've never been to a con, but I would imagine that it applies to a lot of cons anyways.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be a fun discussion. So yeah, definitely tune into all of those.
All right. Well, then I think that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube, where you can hear us live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We also encourage you to subscribe to our audio version on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on Twitter and tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show to stay informed about Star Wars comics happenings, or follow the hosts individually. I'm at Ty Rags, Emma is at Irma Jedi 26, Caleb is at Caleb Lamanek, and Jacob is at Jacob Bosch. For reviews, articles, and news for the rest of the expanded universe, be sure to visit utini.com. We also encourage you to join our Utini Discord community by going to utini.com/discord, and you can also help support the show by heading to patreon.com/utini and start receiving exclusive perks starting at just $5 a month. A special thank you to OK Endar, Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as Matt Bellington, Elizabeth Cloutier, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their continued amazing support. Thank you again to Emma, Caleb, and Jacob for hosting with me tonight. And thank you to everybody who was in the chat. And a special thank you to all of our listeners, wherever and whenever you are joining us. We truly appreciate all of your support. We hope to see you next week, but until then, may the Force be with you.